Texas tanks roar up I-35, clashing with Midwest defenders in Wichita's burning suburbs. Midwest forces blow bridges, using the Missouri River as a shield. Smoke rising from Kansas City. Southern warships blockade New York Harbor, casting shadows over a darkened, desperate city. Northeast troops dig in, guarding Manhattan's skyline as Southern Navy tightens its grip. United States, 2025, the federal government collapses, leaving states to seize control of all bases for military assets. Bases, ports, airfields fall under state control, sparking chaos and competition. Smaller states seek alliances, while larger ones scramble for fuel, food, and factories. The race for resources begins, setting the stage for a brutal state-on-state war. West Coast rises. California, Oregon, Washington unite, commanding Pacific Fleet and tech hubs. San Diego's carriers and marine bases give California unmatched naval and ground power. Washington's Trident submarines and Joint Base Lewis McChord bolster the Western Federation. Oregon adds airfields and guard brigades, but the West faces a critical weakness. Oil scarcity threatens California's Navy and jets, reliant on dwindling fuel imports. Without fuel, California's mighty carriers and high-tech arsenal could grind to a halt. Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico join the West, aiming to counter Southern resource dominance. The South emerges as a powerhouse, led by Texas with its vast oil reserves. Texas's National Guard, 20,000 strong, and Fort Hood's divisions form a formidable force. Dyess Air Force Base equips the South with B-1 bombers for long-range strikes. Oklahoma, Louisiana, Georgia, and Florida join Texas, forming a Southern coalition. The South controls Norfolk, the world's largest naval base, and Gulf refineries. Carolinas and Virginia add marine divisions and coastal assets to the Southern might. Southern refineries keep tanks and jets fueled, giving them a strategic edge. The Midwest Union forms Illinois, Ohio, Michigan, Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, Dakotas. Midwest controls America's breadbasket, producing corn and wheat to feed armies. Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri flies B-2 stealth bombers for precision strikes. Lima, Ohio's Abrams tank line, and Detroit's factories churn out armor and trucks. Midwest's food supply becomes a weapon, starving opponents in prolonged conflict. The region's strength lies in feeding armies, not in overwhelming military might. Northeast alliance forms. New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New England unite. New York's 10th Mountain Division and Vermont's F-35 fighters bolster defenses. Connecticut's submarine base at Groton provides critical naval power for the Northeast. Lacking oil and farmland, the Northeast relies on alliances and urban strongholds. Cities like New York and Boston brace for siege, clinging to survival. 4 megablocks emerge. West Coast, South, Midwest, and Northeast consolidate power. Smaller states like Delaware and Rhode Island are absorbed within days. West Coast Federation unites California, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico. Southern Coalition, led by Texas, includes Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and more. Midwest Union defends the breadbasket, uniting Illinois, Ohio, Iowa, and others. Northeast Alliance clings to the I-95 corridor, fighting for survival. By week 1, the South seizes Maryland and Washington, D.C., expanding rapidly. Texas armored divisions charge north on I-35, overrunning Wichita in a blitz. Midwest forces retreat to Kansas City, fortifying defenses along the Missouri River. Tank battles rage in Kansas City suburbs, stalling the Southern advance. In the Southwest, California Marines cross the Colorado River, seizing Hoover Dam. Hoover Dam's capture fails to disrupt Texas's grid, draining Western resources. Texas armor from Fort Bliss clashes with California near Albuquerque's airbase. Urban combat in Albuquerque turns brutal, with neither side gaining ground. In the Rockies, Texas pushes into Colorado, targeting Denver's Suncor refinery. Western mountain troops ambush Texas convoys in Colorado Springs' narrow passes. The Rockies become a fortress, halting Southern advances in rugged terrain. On the East Coast, Southern forces advance up I-95, targeting Philadelphia. The 82nd Airborne and Marines lead the assault, pounding Philadelphia with artillery. Pennsylvania's Guard and militias turn Philadelphia into an unyielding fortress. Reload! Southern Navy blockades New York Harbor, choking Northeast supply lines. By month 3, the war hinges on who controls oil, food, and industry. The South holds half of America's oil, fueling tanks and jets relentlessly. Midwest's corn and wheat stockpiles starve the South, forcing rationing. West Coast trades drones and tech with Midwest for grain shipments. Northeast relies on Canadian power, but blackouts plague New York and Boston. Southern warships sink Western oil tankers, tightening the fuel stranglehold. Detroit retools for trucks and armor, keeping Midwest forces mobile. Silicon Valley drives Western cyber warfare and drone production. Texas chip plants and shipyards churn out Southern military hardware. Spare parts dwindle, forcing all sides to strip old planes and vehicles. The South peaks, controlling 2/3 of America, besieging New York. Kansas City falls, and Southern tanks push into St. Louis suburbs. Guerrilla attacks in Missouri, and Kentucky disrupt Southern supply lines. Western Marines use helicopters to seize Yuma and Parker crossings. West Coast forces drive toward Phoenix, threatening Southern strongholds. Mountain troops push through Utah, forcing the South back in New Mexico. West Coast reaches Oklahoma City, but supply lines overstretch in deserts. Midwest counterattacks, retaking Kansas and storming St. Louis. Midwest captures Louisville, boosting morale but lacking strength to advance. Northeast strikes back, liberating Philadelphia block by block. The Northeast advance stalls in Maryland, unable to break Southern lines. Two outcomes emerge after years of grinding, resource-driven war. Outcome 1. The South wins, leveraging oil to crush Western resistance. California, isolated and fuel-starved, falls to Southern armored assaults. The Northeast collapses under blockade, surrendering to Southern dominance. The South dictates terms, forging a new union in its image. Midwest states, tired of war, sign a ceasefire, trading food for Southern autonomy. California, cut off from fuel, faces Southern armies sweeping through Los Angeles. Central Valley falls, leaving the West Coast Federation vulnerable to collapse. The Northeast, starved by blockade, surrenders to the South's overwhelming pressure. Alternatively, the West, Midwest, and Northeast unite under a single command. Midwest tanks roll through Tennessee, striking at the South's heartland. West Coast Marines attack Texas from the west, targeting Gulf refineries. Northeast troops pin Southern forces along the Atlantic, stretching their lines. Special forces strike Houston's refineries, igniting flames that cripple Southern fuel. Baton Rouge's oil facilities burn, halting Southern tanks and jets. Southern armies, stretched across plains and Appalachians, grind to a standstill. Atlanta and Dallas fall to coordinated assaults from the United Alliance. The old United States lies in ruins, cities burned, farmland scarred. Victory brings no parades, only ration cards and guerrilla uprisings. The true deciding factor is whether alliances hold under relentless pressure. Burned-out cities and shattered fields mark the new American landscape. The winning coalition, whether South or Alliance, rules a fractured nation. Rebuilding begins amid blackouts, shortages, and lingering resistance. The war's lesson: unity determines survival in a divided nation. Which side would you bet on in this fractured future?